Hello, alright, Sunday the 15th of May 2011 and it's 25 minutes past 2 in the afternoon. Just thought I'd pop on with a little bit of a show today. Now, if you've been reading my Facebook profiles, you may well know that I have had a problem with squirrels. Yes, boys and girls, the squirrels are attacking. They are attacking my home, boys and girls. And there's a young lady here who doesn't appear to be very good at getting them, do you, Katie? Eh? Why can't you get the squirrels? Huh? She leaves it all to me. She sits there and looks at them. Well, it all started, if you've been a regular viewer to the show, it all started way back at the end of last year, I think, where I noticed there were a lot of squirrels digging holes in my garden, boys and girls. My garden was being raped. It was being raped by the squirrels for nuts. They were looking for nuts in my garden. Anyway, I thought not much of it, to be honest. Now and again I went out there and shooed them away, but didn't really do much. As soon as I disappeared, they came back and dug the holes again. Anyway, as I say, didn't think much more of it. As spring came around, the problem stopped. But I did notice this year there was an awful lot of people, lot of squirrels going from tree to tree. Where I live now, I live in Bracknell in Royal Berkshire. Squirrels everywhere, boys and girls. There were squirrels everywhere. There absolutely was. Tree to tree, hundreds of them. Well, perhaps not hundreds, but you know, there were quite a lot. Anyway, once again I thought, oh, they're a bit noisy, and did know more about it. Well, guess what? Oh, my camera keeps falling down. Just a moment. Just a second. Let's put you up there. There we are. That's better. There we are. Are you a bit close now? Where was I now? Oh, yes. Around about 6 weeks ago, I was in bed. I want you to imagine that. Close your eyes and imagine me in bed. Possibly your bed. Can you imagine me in your bed? With the cat, Katie? Huh? Perhaps not. Anyway, I was in bed at 6 o'clock one morning. Scratching noises coming from the ceiling. Now, I have to admit, I think I've heard this sound a couple of times before, over the winter period, but thought not a lot of it and just ignored it. Well, the scratching worried me. It did worry me, boys and girls, but I thought, probably something on the roof, I'll leave it. Each morning, this was now happening, and it always ran about the same time, 6 o'clock in the morning, I would be woken up by this scratching sound. Now, 6 o'clock in the morning may be okay, perhaps for some of you that go to work at that time of the day, but for me, that is mega early. I tend to get up around about 9 o'clock in the morning, usually between 9 and 10. So it was rather upsetting to hear these squirrels, and they were doing it again at 5 o'clock. Okay, so noises at 6 in the morning, that would go on for a couple of hours, and then, again, later on in the day, around about 5 o'clock at 6 o'clock at night, when again I'm in bed because I work nights. Squirrel noises, boys and girls. Very, very scary. I went up into the loft 3 times, looking, searching with a torch, looking for evidence of small animals in my loft, but there was none. Very, very strange. And then one day I went up there and I banged the roof, and suddenly a squirrel appeared, boys and girls. A squirrel appeared in the corner of where the roof joins the floor, in the loft. And it ran and hid in a rafter. It was at this point I started to get worried. I'd done searching on the internet and I found that squirrels do actually do an awful lot of damage. Chewing wires and even chewing water pipes. I was worried now because I also read on the internet there had been several houses burnt down due to squirrels chewing wires, and then the electricity going flicker, 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 arc, 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 and up you go in smoke. So the very next, no, not the next day, that afternoon, around about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I rang a pest people. You know, pest control people, do rats and things like that. And within an hour, actually, he came round. And he put down 2 lots of poison and an instant kill trap. The idea is the squirrel steps on the trap and, you know, dies. Now, to be honest, at this stage, I wasn't keen on that happening. I was kind of hoping that they would be able to catch the squirrel, hear that, singular, catch the squirrel, and release it somewhere else. However, on further investigation on the internet, I found out that the laws here in the UK state that if you catch a grey squirrel, these are grey squirrels we've got the problem with, then you are not allowed to release it into the wild. You have to destroy it because it is a pest, same as rats. At this point, I still thought to myself, oh, you know, that's really sad. Little grey, cuddly, furry squirrels, what harm could they possibly do? As the days wore on, the noise in the loft seemed to increase. And it wasn't just like a pitter-pattering around anymore. There was definite, like, gnawing noises. It sounded like there were things being dragged across in the loft. And I'm starting to get rather worried now. This carried on for a week. So I rung up the pest bloke. And I said, well, you know, this is getting worse. He said that you have to be patient. Apparently the squirrels will take the poison back to their nest, but may not necessarily eat it immediately. And I said, well, do you want to come round? He said, I can come round again, but it's a bit pointless. Okay, fair enough, put the phone down. A couple of days later, my best friend Ron came over with his other half, Andy, and we were doing stuff in the house, and I came downstairs in the morning. He'd got up to make some tea, his other half was still in bed, and I came down as well, and then when I went back into the hall, I could hear strange noises in the loft, like a laboured breathing sound. And I said to Ron, quickly, come out here and have a listen to this. I said, I think we've got one. And he could hear it as well. Strange breathing noises in the loft, boys and girls. Anyway, he said, you going to have a look? I said, well, no, because the pest control man had told me not to go up there. Apparently, squirrels will attack you if they are cornered. Beware of that, boys and girls. If you are in a room with a squirrel, it may well attack you. Maybe you will have your eyes scratched out and your nose bitten off by those little teeth. Be warned. So, I left it at that. Days continued, the noise continued in the loft, and it's starting to drive me mad, to be honest. Being woken up every day at 6 o'clock in the morning by things in your attic is not funny. The first couple of days it is. You know, it's a little bit of a joke. But as time goes on, you suddenly realise you can't get rid of them. And it's not funny anymore. So I ordered a live trap thing from the internet. Now this is like a cage. And at one end it's like closed. Well, it's got a bar at the bottom which you remove and you put it in it and it doesn't open. And the other end is like a trap door. Going back to the other end of it, there's like a metal plate. When an animal steps on the metal plate, the door at the back closes. Animal can't get out. Okay? So I set that up in the garden. And also placed within it some peanut butter and monkey nuts. Again, I discovered on the internet this is what they like. I placed that on the plate, what it's supposed to stand on, left it in the garden about 5 o'clock one afternoon and went to bed. I got up at about 6:15, looked out the window, and guess what? The peanut butter and the peanuts, which were on a small piece of cardboard, which I had left on the plate at the back of the cage, were now sitting minus the monkey nuts. Does it say peanuts? Minus the monkey nuts at the front of the cage with the door still open. How did it do that? These are not stupid animals. I'm telling you that now. Squirrels are not stupid animals. They are clever little things. Rather disappointed with this, I then reset the trap. This time, putting another piece of cardboard with peanut butter and monkey nuts right at the very back of the cage. So, the only way you can get to it is to step on that metal plate. I went to work, came back, nothing. Got up in the morning, there he is. A little fat squirrel. Locked in my cage, boys and girls. It was locked in my cage. But what to do? Don't know what to do with it now. What do I do? Not allowed to let it go. So, I found out that one of my neighbours eats squirrels. Yes, boys and girls, not my cup of tea, really. In fact, you might be surprised to know that I actually gave up eating meat about 5 weeks ago now. I've been watching too many of those factory farming videos. You'll find them all on YouTube if you want to have a look. It's really quite disturbing to find how chickens, pigs, cows, all sorts of animals are treated. Have a little look around on YouTube and you'll find some awful, awful videos of animal cruelty, and that's prompted me to stop eating meat. I don't eat them anymore. That's another subject perhaps for another day. But I found neighbours that eat squirrels. Not only do they eat squirrels, they shoot them. May sound very difficult to you, but once again, let me remind you that squirrels are not allowed to be released here in the UK. They are considered a pest, exactly the same as rats and foxes. You are perfectly allowed to shoot them. So, not my neighbour next door, it was a few doors down. So my neighbour came round, and I didn't watch, with the air gun that he owns, and disposed of the squirrel. It's not something I'm particularly proud of telling you. It's not something that makes me happy. I'm not a hunter. It's not something that I am proud of. However, I'm just telling you what happened, okay? So there we go. I thought, wonderful, squirrel gone. So that night, I went to bed. In the morning, I was woken up by scratching in the attic. Clearly, that wasn't the squirrel. Set the trap back up upside. Oh, I think we got cut off there. Never mind, part two. So yes, I went to bed and there was more scratching going on. Put the trap back outside, but the squirrels didn't seem to be going near the trap anymore. Read a bit more on the internet, and apparently, when you use these cage traps, I've already said to you, squirrels are not stupid, boys and girls. The squirrels are very intelligent animals. And if you catch a squirrel in one of those cages, you must move it very, very quickly. Because it makes a lot of noise, and if other squirrels see that squirrel in the cage, they won't go near it. They're not stupid, dear. They're not stupid. Are they, Katie? No. She hasn't got a lot to say, this poor old cow, does she? Eh? Not a lot to say. So, I think the next day, I saw it sitting on the top of my roof. And it said, eating nuts or something on the roof. So I went round to my neighbour's house again, and he brought out a rather large gun and shot the thing off the top of the roof. It went flying over. Again, not something I'm proud of. I'm just telling you what happened. Perfectly legal to do that in this country. Squirrel number 2 gone. Perhaps I can now sleep. Surely this was the squirrel that was doing all the scratching. After all, it was up on my roof. 2 days of peace and quiet. Nothing. And then it started again. Scratching. By now, to be honest, I'm tearing my hair out. I no longer think of squirrels as little grey, furry, cute, cuddly animals. I hate them now. I hate squirrels. I really do. The noise they make. You know, something you can't get out of your house. A few days more passed, and eventually the cage outside caught another one. Wonderful! Ha-ha! Squirrel number 3. But God, how mighty, how many more are there? We disposed of the squirrel in the same form as the other one. A few more days passed. Nothing. I thought, that's it. And actually, to this day, to this moment, and I'm talking to you now, there have been no more squirrels. So fingers crossed. Fingers crossed, I think we've sorted out the problem. Meanwhile, I've gone up on the roof and filled the holes. Not a very good job. I'm not very good at DIY. I filled it with wire mesh and filler. I did try the expandable foam stuff, you know, but the squirrels just chew through that at an alarming rate and just leave a complete mess outside the front of your house. So we're not using that. So I've done that with filler. I've got to paint it the same colour as the wood that's up there as well now, and that should be sorted. My best mate came round the other day again. While he came round, I thought, well, I will have a little look in the loft. In the loft, there is now evidence of squirrels. There is little poo-poo bits, you know, in the loft area. Just a minor bit of damage. I noticed that the insulation around one of the cold water pipes up there had been chewed just a little bit around the edge. Nothing to write home about. More damage really to the loft insulation. A lot of that had been dug up. Only in one corner. I mean, not talking about the whole loft, but in one corner, a lot of that had been dug up, which they used for nests. And in the instant kill trap, I did find a dead squirrel in one of those, so I took up a couple of black plastic bags. You have to double bag them and put them in the bin, and that's it. And hopefully that's cured the problem. But boys and girls, I do hope any of you who have got houses or flats and you're on the top floor and you've got a loft, I really hope that you never ever get squirrels in there, because it really is not a pleasant thing. I did have an email actually from lovely Vicky, who used to write in when we did our 3 hours a week shows, and I'll read it out to you at some point, perhaps in the next little video that I do. She sent in an email of an experience that she had with squirrels, which is just as bad as mine, okay? Anyway, there's an email address if you ever want to write in. Tell us what you're thinking about, okay? The email address is chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Main website for this show, www.unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. www.unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Thanks for watching and listening. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.